everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new, welcome. My name is Dina. I'm very excited to speak with you guys today about a topic that I find extremely fascinating, but has also been a big part of my life. And although I don't experience it a lot these days, I used to get this a lot in the past, and that is sleep paralysis. Now, for those of you who do not know what sleep paralysis is, it is a very, very scary and unpleasant experience. Basically what happens is while you are sleeping, you wake up partially, just enough to be sort of aware of what's going on around you, but you're still kind of in your dream state. And this is when people hallucinate, aka hear things, see things, usually of the more scarier demonic theme, and you are unable to move. You're paralyzed in your bed, you can't move your arms, your legs, you can't speak, you can't move your head. It's quite scary. Now, I personally have had this happen to me many times in the past, especially during school, and I started to realize that sleep paralysis was definitely a stress related thing for me. It was very stress triggered, and I found in recent years that I haven't had it as much, and maybe it's because I have less stress, but I used to be a very stressed person, especially in university. And actually the first time I experienced sleep paralysis was first year university during exam period, and I was extremely stressed for my first exams, my first year in university, and I was getting sleep paralysis so often. I had this one week where I had it literally every single night that week, and I'd wake up at 3 in the morning every single night or morning. It was horrible. I was scared to go back to sleep. I was lacking sleep, which is not good during exam period, and I thought there was something evil in my room. I mean, every single time this happened, it was like a demon was either sitting on my chest or like breathing in my ear or some other scary thing like that. It was terrifying. And I mean, I'm someone who definitely believes in spirits and other things like that. So at the time, I'm like, oh my God, like, is something evil in my room? Like, I was like, I've never been a religious person by any means, but I do have a cross, and I was keeping it on me just in case, because I was like, what on earth is happening in my room? And the fact that I was waking up at 3 a.m. every single morning didn't really help either, because they always say that 3 a.m. is the witching hour. So I did believe for a little bit that there could have been a demon or something evil in my room, and I was really worried about that. Eventually, as the stress kind of resolved itself and started to go away, then things got to be a little bit better. I didn't have this experience as often, but I did have a lot of other sleep paralysis experiences. A couple actually happened at my boyfriend's house, and luckily when you're sleeping in the bed with somebody else, when they see you're having an episode, they tend to wake you up, and I was really lucky that he would, you know, shake me. He's like, Dina, wake up, it's okay. When someone else isn't there to wake you up, you literally just have to kind of go through the experience. And as somebody who has experienced sleep paralysis so much, it kind of became something that I was a little bit more familiar with and used to. And although the experience was still scary, I could identify that I was having sleep paralysis when it happened, whereas the first few times I had it, I was like, what is happening to me? But after that, I was like, okay, I'm having an episode. I'd be aware that I'm having this sleep paralysis. And although I'd see very scary and disturbing images around me in my bedroom, I would just close my eyes, because that's the one thing I had control over. Like, I couldn't move anything else, but I could close my eyes. And I just tell myself, Dina, you're gonna wake up soon. This is sleep paralysis. This isn't real. And then I just really focus on trying to wiggle my fingers. And like, if you try hard enough, it takes time, but if you try hard enough, eventually you start to gain some movement, and then you wake up. But it's a very long and brutal, like, it just feels like forever when you are scared. And for someone who has just experienced sleep paralysis for like the first or second time and doesn't really know what it is, it can be very scary. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about like the history of sleep paralysis, common beliefs from different cultures all around the world, because this is a phenomenon that is universal. It happens all around the world, and there's different names for it, which is very fascinating to me, and different beliefs as well. And I also want to talk a little bit about the science, because there is a little bit of research on sleep paralysis, not a ton. It's still kind of early in the research process, but there is some stuff to kind of explain what happens to us, which makes me feel a little bit better that maybe it wasn't a demon sitting on my chest or breathing in my ear. You don't even know. I've had the scariest sleep paralysis experiences. It's brutal, and then you don't want to go back to sleep because you're scared it's going to happen again. Knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen again. It hasn't happened, honestly, in months and months. It's probably been close to a year since I've had my last sleep paralysis experience, and I think it, again, is because I have my stress under control. In one of the articles about sleep paralysis, that there is some, you know, scientific correlation between stress and sleep paralysis. But anyways, we'll get there and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. So sleep paralysis can happen isolated in healthy individuals. You don't have to have any sort of abnormal sleep disorder or some other psychological disorder in order to have sleep paralysis. They actually say that 8% of the overall population experiences this. It's a decent amount, but it's not as many as I thought. And I'm like, oh, like I'm only like of that 8%, that's not a lot of people that have experienced this, which is interesting. But I have to say, as I've come out and explained like my experience with people, I've actually met quite a few people around me that have experienced sleep paralysis. I've talked to at least 10 other people who have experienced sleep paralysis, so I feel like it's fairly common. That being said, it's also linked to other disorders. So if you have some other sleep disorder like narcolepsy, chances are you have experienced sleep paralysis at some point in your life. If not, experience it fairly regularly, but it is fairly linked to other psychiatric and other sleep disorders. Now, like I said, this is a universal experience. People all over the world experience this, and you know, with different cultures, different influences come different explanations for these sort of events. So Egyptians actually refer to this as jinn attack. Jinn attack. And jinn are actually evil genies. So that was kind of their explanation for it, at least probably like more of like a historical explanation for it. I don't know if modern Egyptians believe this, but maybe they do. Cambodians refer to this as the ghost that pushes you down. So again, there's like that theme that something evil is pushing down on your chest or sitting on your chest. In the Caribbean, they use the word kokma to refer to sleep paralysis. Italians use the word pendafesh. Hopefully I said that right. Basically, it means evil witch, ghost, or horrifying cat-like creature. In Japan, they refer to it as Karnashibar, which means bound in metal. So again, it's that explanation for, you know, being bound, you can't move. In Newfoundland, they called it the old hag that visits you at night. Now, I feel like this is probably one of the most commonly heard explanations. A lot of people have heard of the old hag story, or I guess legend basically, for sleep paralysis. And this is what a lot of people honestly believe that don't really know the science side of sleep paralysis, or maybe just in general, because even though science has like some explanation, we don't really have all the answers. In China, they refer to this as ghost oppression. Also, native folklore actually shapes the nature of these sleep paralysis hallucinations. In Mexico, they actually found that more than 90% of teenagers know the phrase, "a dead body climbed on top of me." So they basically believe like it's a dead body that's like on you, or some people believe it anyways. Now, a lot of you may have heard of this, but one of the most like well-known famous historical representations of sleep paralysis was actually in a painting. Now, this painting was created in 1781 by Henry Fuseli, and the painting is called The Nightmare. This is a classic depiction of sleep paralysis of a creature or an old hag or something sitting on someone's chest as they sleep and they cannot move. Quite creepy if you ask me. So yeah, as you can see, like the common theme here is like old hag, demon, creature, that kind of thing. So basically, let's first get into some sleep psychology and how sleep works and all of that. So basically, when you sleep, there are two different types of sleep. There's non-REM sleep and then there's REM sleep. Now, REM sleep, REM, stands for rapid eye movement, and this is the phase that you have most of your dreaming in. So when people's eyes are like jetting back and forth underneath their eyelids, usually that means they're dreaming. Now, when we go into REM sleep, our voluntary muscles are actually paralyzed. The reason this happens is basically our body is trying to protect itself from acting out our dreams, because if our body didn't paralyze ourselves, we would be trying to move around and do everything that's happening in our brain while we're dreaming. And that's kind of honestly what happens when people experience sleepwalking, or I think they called delta dreams, when people fully act out their dream and they're like aware, but they're not at the same time. I have to look it up again. I learned it first year psychology, so it's been a while, guys, but if you guys are interested in other sleep disorders, definitely let me know. I find it so fascinating. So basically, the paralysis is a good thing because it's protecting you from moving around and hurting yourself while you're dreaming. However, this is one of the contributing factors during sleep paralysis. So when you have sleep paralysis, basically you are still in that dreaming state. Your muscles are still paralyzed. They have not woken up yet, but you're starting to wake up. So you may open your eyes and have a little bit of consciousness. However, you're not fully conscious yet. You're not fully awake. So while you can see your environment around you, you cannot move, and you also see and hear things. that aren't necessarily there, but you're still kind of in your dreaming state. So it's kind of like your dreaming and your awakened state are kind of smooshed together. This happens with problems, obviously, with your REM sleep. Your REM sleep has been disrupted for some reason, and usually this has to do with stress. And fun fact, some researchers actually believe that sleep paralysis is to blame for many reports on alien abductions. If you guys look up alien abduction experiences stories, a lot of it sounds very similar to what is experienced during sleep paralysis. I'm not saying that all of these people are attributed to sleep paralysis. Maybe some people did have a real alien abduction experience. I don't know. But most likely it's because of sleep paralysis. So, interesting fact, more than 30% of psychiatric patients had an episode of sleep paralysis, according to one study. And also, this is an experience that is most commonly found in adolescents. Although people of all ages can experience it, it's most likely adolescents that do. Now, I had this in my kind of, I would say, like 19 to early 20s is when I experienced this, and I mean to mid-20s too, because I've had it fairly recently, like last year or the year before that. But I mean, it can happen to everybody of all ages, and I mean, you can be a completely healthy individual with no mental illness and still experience this. So like I said, we don't have all the answers with sleep paralysis. I did give you a brief explanation of kind of why it happens, but we have a little bit more to go off of. So in 2012, researchers at University of Toronto manipulated transmitters and receptors in the brains of rats, and they were actually able to provoke sleep paralysis. So this is definitely a breakthrough study in that they were able to actually create the experience of sleep paralysis. Now that they've been able to recreate it, they can really start to understand it a little bit more, and maybe, you know, by understanding it more, they can give people some better advice on how to deal with it, how to cope, how to prevent it from happening, and maybe it would make a lot of people sleep better at night knowing that it's not a demon or an old hag sitting on their chest. I mean, believe what you want. I don't know, maybe like something happens in the brain during sleep paralysis that just makes you more vulnerable for like old hags and demons to prey on you at night. If you guys are watching this video at nighttime, I apologize. Like, I'm not trying to give you nightmares. I'm just trying to show you all the explanations for sleep paralysis, because this is honestly such a fascinating topic. At least to me, I think it's just so interesting how so many different opinions around the world have been created, yet everyone has the same experience. I just think it's really cool. But one thing they definitely did talk about is stress is super pervasive for experiencing sleep paralysis. So if you are a high stress person and you are experiencing sleep paralysis, try to find ways to manage your stress. If that's not working for you, definitely consider seeing a sleep specialist, because sleep is super important, and if you're having disrupted sleep every single night, that is extremely detrimental for your health, or even just a couple times a week. Honestly, it's extremely detrimental for your health. So you definitely want to make sure you take care of that and do something about it. Your sleep really matters. Yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it fascinating like I do. If you wanted to leave a comment below, share your opinion about sleep paralysis. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you have had sleep paralysis experiences, leave your stories below too. I just love to hear about other people's experiences. I just find it so fascinating for some reason. So definitely leave your stories below. Make sure to like this video. I would truly appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell notification so you know when I've uploaded new videos. And I would love for you to join the family. And I hope you guys have an amazing day and an amazing night. And I hope you have a really good sleep. No nightmares, no sleep paralysis. You know, do a little bit of a de-stress before bed, you know. De-stress, cleanse the area, cleanse the energy, and you guys should be good. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. See you guys soon.